kind of funny situation about my old bicycle. So, I have a really nice bike, but I might have to get rid of it. And it's a Pashley bike, so it's actually handmade in Europe. It's called a princess bike. And I didn't pick this out. Actually, the narcissist bought me this bike, and I think they bought this as repayment for possibly stealing. So I had a Schwinn that was like from Walmart or something, but it was like a good bike. And I would ride this around in college, and then it got stolen. I'm thinking the Narc probably stole this bike, because then a few years later they bought me this Pashley, and they didn't even let me pick it out, honestly. I begged them not to buy it, because it was a lot of money, and I didn't think we could afford it. But he bought it anyways. So, I think that possibly God made him. This is just a guess. I don't have any clear proof other than scripture and what prophets say, which is where when something is stolen from us, it has to be repaid many times over. So I'm thinking that because the narcissist readily purchased this bike, didn't let me pick it out, and it was very expensive, I'm thinking they probably stole my Schwinn. That was like a $250 bike at the time. This was really expensive, so that'd probably be like $500 today. And this was actually a really nice bike, and I loved it, and I would ride it to my classes in college. I would ride it back and forth all the time, and so it got stolen. Thinking the narcissist stole it, and then a couple years later the narcissist bought me the Pashley. But even though they had to buy me the Pashley, I'm thinking this was part of their plan, actually, to punish me in some other way. Things that you just think are a coincidence, they do it on purpose. But what happened? The narc hung the bike up from the ceiling in the garage. I could not reach this, and I could not get it down. And then they hoarded the garage. So then they had like a bunch of like boxes and stuff on the ground, and like ramps to drive cars up onto, and like tools and equipment and like nails. It was totally unsafe. Now the bike was fine, but I couldn't get to it. So even if the ground was clear, I couldn't reach it to get it down. But it was a health hazard to be in that in that garage. So essentially, I think they were like, "Here's a really nice bike. It's way better. You got like $1,000 bike here, but you can't ride it." I didn't even really get to ride it. They hung it from the ceiling in the garage right away. And so 15 years later, I get my bike back, and I move it to the new house. Excuse me, guys. I might have to remake this if I'm too tired. Paul of Tarsus actually was behind some of what happened here. Paul of Tarsus, who God had me deal with Paul of Tarsus. I noticed his name is Paul. I never liked the name Paul, or people named Paul, honestly. Now, if it was a nice person named Paul, then maybe I would like them. But when I hear that name, I just don't like it. I always had this aversion, and now I know why. Possibly all of them are Paul of Tarsus. I don't know. Probably not, but you never know. You know, when they deal with the chosen one, spirits come into the body, manifest, and do their deeds. Do the dirty work. But anyways, Paul of Tarsus was involved. And I did not have... My tires were flat. The bike was still, like, pretty much mint condition. It was, like, brand new other than it was dusty from hanging in the garage, and it wasn't even that dusty. It was just a little dusty. The tires, the air had come out after 15 years. So, Paul of Tarsus was coming to my house every week. It was offered to me by Angel, whose husband is Paul. And the normal real estate agent didn't work with me, and said Angel did. And Angel sent her husband, Paul of Tarsus. And Paul of Tarsus is a lazy slacker who makes less than his wife, Angel. And she calls the shots and sent him over. Anyways, he mentioned, like, maybe the tires are bad, or I asked him, you think they're bad, and I don't remember exactly, this was like a year ago, and he actually brought, like, an air compressor to fill them, and he filled them, and he's like, yeah, they might be bad. Well, apparently he didn't fill them enough. And that's how incompetent this Paul of Tarsus is he doesn't even know how to fill a bike tire. And I did not have a bike pump. And it wasn't even ridden after that time. So he just totally underinflated it to where it was still flat. And then said that they were probably bad. So then when I needed a bike for transportation to be able to make my way to the gym, which is 2 miles away, I didn't want to walk there. I could ride a bike there and it'd only take a few minutes. So anyways, I just assumed that Paul of Tarsus actually did fill my bike tires. But no, he didn't. He put a little bit of air in there and they were still flat. And the tires actually were fine. But it was not rideable. So I called the bike shop. So I'm going to complain about this bike shop and I'm going to complain about Paul of Tarsus. So I don't know whether Paul of Tarsus did not inflate my tires properly on purpose or if he's an idiot. Because he's so incompetent, actually, it could be both or either one. I know how he works, but he was probably just incompetent here. So now I know I'm supposed to inflate the tires to 65. I have some type of like bike pump and it doesn't have a gauge on it, so I don't understand that. Apparently that's not going to work. And that's what I say, like when you're broke and you don't have these basic things, I think the bike shop actually wants to charge you to put air in your tires, but anyways, they didn't charge me for that this time. So I called the bike shop and he said, I made a shirt to say that I didn't have a lot of money, the car was broke down, and I need to get my bike running, and how much is it to replace these tires? And I was talking on the phone how to get the tires down as low as possible, and they had some used tires. And it said, oh, we get the used tires, it'll be under $100, maybe 80 to 100. I'm like, okay, fine. This was before noon. And so I can drive down there in a little bit. And they're like, well, we're open all day, so don't worry about it. I'm like, okay. And then I looked at my computer and the time, and I thought, you know what? They're probably about to have lunch, so I'm going to wait, and I'm going to go later. So then I ended up going at about, like, 4:30 or something, and I guess they close at 6. I went much later because I thought they were going to go on their lunch break, and it wasn't a good time. And actually, the guy did not sound like he wanted me to come right then. So this is all planned. And I probably would have messed up their lunch, or I would have showed up when no one was there. Then I get there, and it said, you know, to take your bike in the side door, and I looked, and there's like several doors, and it doesn't say which one is the right door, and then I don't see anyone in the store, and then finally I see a guy, and I'm like, hey, I don't know where your side door is, and he's like, oh, it's the yellow door. I'm like, okay. Maybe they should mark it, you know, so we know which door it is. It says, don't bring the bikes in the front door, bring it in the side door. Which side door goes to this door? I don't know. Apparently, this bike shop was rated one of the best bike shops in the entire United States. It actually doesn't seem like a bad place. But it's really sad if this is one of the best. And I'm not saying it's bad at all. I just thought this would maybe be a normal bike shop. But the state of the economy, I guess, and customer service now is so bad that this is like one of the best bike shops in the United States. And I just thought it was normal, like nothing really stuck out as, you know. So anyways, I guess the point is it's still a bike shop. It's still a bike shop and they actually repair things and it exists. Possibly that's it. And anyways, and I talked to the guy and it turns out that the cheapest tires he had that would fit were $140, not $80. So, you know, I'm not pleased about this, especially when I'm already in debt and broke. And so, I've got a lot of energy, and I'm not putting up with anyone's crap anymore. So, I think, like, I totally, I probably could have behaved better. I did not. I did not. I was not on my best behavior. And I was very honest and very truthful about all the stuff that was a ripoff and the stuff that was hey, Sarah! 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 excuse me. Go on. Go on. Go on. Oh my gosh. So, I wasn't trying to be rude to the guy or anything. It's like, I was just saying stuff really fast, talking really fast with a lot of energy. And then, they said, oh, since, this is more than I thought it was good. Excuse me. This is more than I thought it was going to be. Do you have anything to make this seat more comfortable? And he's like, well, that's a Brooks seat. Like, yeah, well, it's still uncomfortable. So we went over and looked at the seats. And I found like a really soft seat, or he handed me one. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. And then I squished all of them. I said, they look funny because they were all shaped like asses. Like, you've seen these bike seats. And so I was probably kind of rude here. I'm like, they have a funny shape. I'm like, pointing out the obvious. The bike seats were shaped like butt cheeks. And, good boy. And I pointed that out. And he said, you're going to put the bike seat on if I pay for it? He's like, no, that's an additional $15. And I was kind of like this. And I said, how does that go on? And he just, he told me, like, real quick, like, you just screw this and put it on. I said, or wait, actually, before I asked him to install it, I said, how's this go on? And then he showed me, like, just real quick, like, just screws on here. You take this out and put the new one on. Like, oh, okay. And then I was going to get this bike seat that was, like, really soft. And, so, yeah, I'll get it, especially if you put it on. He's like, oh, that'll be an extra $15. And I'm like, well, doesn't that take just, like, 1 minute? And then he didn't say anything. Yes, it takes 1 minute to put the bike seat on. The guy was going to charge me $15. I don't think so. And then my tires were supposed to be $100 or less. Maybe even $80. And he said $140. This is something I've noticed in this town. When they quote you a price on the phone and you get there, the price in person is always 50% more than what it was on the phone. And I walked this bike down there, and I couldn't really ride it because the tires were too flat. Anyways, I was not pleased about this. So you see how I'm talking with a lot of, like, energy. And I'm being brutally honest. I was being brutally honest in a store, and I looked at the bikes there, and this is not the person that owns the store. There was one person there that I think, and this was like the repair guy. So the person that owns the shop, I don't believe was there, but he was the one there that day. And like, oh, like they had tandem bikes. There was a few like vintage bikes for sale, and I'm like, oh, cool, And I asked, like, how much they were. I said, I'm not going to get anything, just out of curiosity. And he's like, oh, this one's $140, and this one... I'm like, oh, bikes used to be $20. And so, yeah, actually, his prices on these bikes were probably fair. They really were. But, I wasn't pleased to walk in and like, oh, yeah, your tires are $140 now, not $80. So, like, yeah, bikes used to be $20, or maybe I'm just old. And then I said something about, like, the bike seat, and I said, I'll just put it on myself. So I was just being, like, really loud. Oh, the guy, too, I forgot to mention, the guy in this store was, like, 6'5". So he's probably, like, I'm sure there's other people that come in and, they know how to do things on bikes. I don't know how to do any of this stuff, But probably a lot of people see somebody like that and they're intimidated, or they'll say something, or they'll say, why don't you play basketball or something, but I don't care. And so I just talk like I would. Actually, if it was a small person that was diminutive, I might actually be more polite and respectful. And I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. But, like, disrespected me by trying to nickel and dime me and overcharge me for these tires. And this is supposed to be the best bike shop in the United States? I don't think so. But I would say, actually, their prices are fair. It's probably fine. But here I'm in a bad situation. I'm broke, and I'm, like, already pissed off. And so when I get there, and then it's like, oh, $15 put in the seat. I'm like, I'll just do it myself. And then we went to the checkout, and then he's like, well, you can pick it up tomorrow. It's kind of late. I'm like, well, I had to walk this a mile down here. I'd prefer to get it today. And he's like, well, I don't know if you really have time. And he wasn't being disrespectful. Or, actually, the time might have been tight to put these tires on. I said, what do I have to do to get this working out order now? To leave here with a working bike? And so he looked at the bike, and he's like, actually, it doesn't need tires. It doesn't need tires. And he just put some air in it real fast. And, like, the bike, like, you know, it actually like rose like an inch or two. There was like, they were so underinflated. And this was all Paul of Tarsus, who did not inflate my tires and told me the tires were bad. And here, I don't know anything about this stuff. I haven't ridden a bike in 15 years. And so I just trusted what Paul of Tarsus said, and it turned out that my tires didn't even need replacement. I was like, okay, how much for the air and how much for the seat? And he said, no charge for the air. So like at that point, like I'm standing a ways back, and like I've like basically said, oh, this is expensive, this is expensive, this is expensive, and it's kind of funny. I wasn't trying to be rude, but like my honesty was rude, I'm gonna say. But I wasn't gonna put up like I'm tired of like people lying to me and taking advantage of me, breaking my stuff and charging me more money. So then I was at the checkout, and then he was, basically said, oh, you don't even need tires. And then I was like really happy. I'm like, oh great, thank you. Okay, how much for the air and for the seat? He says, no charge. He was like, no charge for the, like he was actually kind of worried. And I don't know if he then saw the light. Because the remnant, the saints have the Holy Spirit in them, so maybe he saw that, and no. It's like, okay, let me walk you out. And so, or actually before that, I'm like, okay, well, I can pay you to put the seat on. Because actually he did spend some time talking with me and stuff, and I thought, I need to do something to pay this person. It's not right to just come in here, you know, and take up their time. And so actually at that point I was gonna pay him $15 to put on the seat. I'm like, well, let me pay you to put on the seat. He's like, no, you put it on. I think I know why anyways, but he's like, let me walk you out. I was like, okay, this is probably a theft prevention measure, but anyways, maybe not. Maybe he saw the light of the Holy Spirit. But the way I walked in there, and I'm like, that looks like an ass. That's too expensive. That bike should be $20. And then he was like, no charge for the air, like this. Like I scared this. Probably, I didn't leave a review. I'm not going to leave a bad review. Honestly, you know, if they can get a bike that I want, if they can order a bike that I want, I can charge it on the credit card, because that's like free money. I could charge a bike I want on the credit card. I might buy it from them. I really might. This is not a bad bike shop. I'm not saying it's a bad bike shop. At this point, so many people try to rip me off, steal my money, and break my stuff. I don't trust anyone. I'm going to make sure. Like, I think this is part of God's training. Like, everyone is going to try to overcharge you and sell you something that's broken. And I have to make sure that it's not. And so I'm just brutally honest with everything. And then I just hopped on my bike and left. Well, anyways, this bike is a Pashley Princess, which does not look like a princess bike. It's solid black, and it's really well made, and actually it's steel, so it's strong. Even though it's a step-through frame, because it's high quality, solid steel, and it's welded, because of that, it doesn't flex at all, like, and it's upright, so it's meant to be like a commuter. So it's got a 3-speed on it. So it's upright, it's got comfortable handlebars, it's got like a Brooks saddle on it, handmade, and it's just like black enamel, or what is that, where they're powder coated, I think. But anyways, it's a really good quality bike. But I might have to get rid of this bike now. When I was in the bike shop, I told him, I'm not looking to buy a bike right now. That bike should be $20 anyways. That bike should be $20, not $150. But, actually I might be looking for a bike. Because now, every time I think about my bike, I think about this stupid narcissist and how he hung that bike up in the garage to where I couldn't get it and I could not use it in 15 years. So he got something, he knew I really wanted a bike. And then he basically like put my bike in a cage so I couldn't use it. And one time he let my narcissist daughter ride the bike. But I was never able to ride the bike. So I think about that every time I see the bike now. And I think about how the narcissist bought this bike for me. So I would like, this bike retails now for like $1,450 or about $1,500. And so if it's $1,450, you gotta pay tax. And now it's imported. I mean, so you'd probably be paying like $1,600 for this bike. So if somebody paid me $1,000 cash, I would like this. The thing is, probably a lot of people don't want to. But this bike is like pretty much new, because I didn't even get to ride it. The narcissist hung it from the garage and then like hoarded around it so I could never ride it. So it's like new condition. But I would like this money because I would like to buy a different bike that I buy myself and the narcissist does not buy. And these aren't cheap. And I can't just go and get some Chinese bike at Walmart. I'm not going to do it. They're junk and they break down. And I'm sorry, guys. This is true. This is true. It's good that Trump's fixing this and having things made in the U.S. again. They were cutting corners, having products made as cheaply as possible with planned obsolescence, so they'd go bad after a few years, and then you just buy a whole new bike, because a new bike costs just a little bit more than actually having it serviced, and people don't want to service a crappy bike. And we all know this. When stuff is cheapened, like if you have a $20 pair of boots, you're not going to take it to a cobbler and have it resold for $50. So it's the same thing with bikes. Anyways, I would like an American-made bike. And this is a European-made bike. I think that's kind of similar because it's not being outsourced. It's actually being produced in a first-world country for their own people. And I don't know. I was kind of looking at the Surleys. They look kind of fun. I don't know. Maybe I want a fat tire bike. But like this Pashley Princess bike is really nice too. It's the unfortunate thing, I think of the narcissist when I see it, so should I get rid of the bike or should I keep the bike? I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm already in debt, so I can't afford to buy another bike, but if I use the credit card, then it's like I get a free bike. But I said I can't sell this bike until I get another one, because I'll need a bike to be able to go to the gym, unless somebody stops over here and fixes my car for free. At this point, I can't even take money out of my checking account. Because that's not there. So if I can't pay you with my credit card, I don't know how I'm going to pay for this. So there's a lot of problems here. I have a lot of problems. Like, God has really put me in a bind. And so I guess I have to have a really good testimony where, like, all my wealth and resources are stripped away. I had enough, like, to buy my house, have a new roof, have it repaired, have a working vehicle. Like, I actually had everything all lined up, and God messed that up on purpose. I'm not being disrespectful. You know, of course we agree to this too. But actually God will restore us more than what we've lost, and that's great. But right now things don't look good. And so what should I do, guys? This is a really nice bike. It's like a really classy bike. It's the right size. It's a perfect woman's bike. If you're like short to like 5'4" or something, like if you're like 5 foot, 5'5", like it's a great bike. Like you could stand. It's really comfortable. I'll even send a free saddle with it, because I took the Brooks off and I put the cheap saddle on it now, because the Brooks saddle was like new, and it's not tried out or anything, but I did not want to use it when it hadn't been conditioned. So I put the leather conditioner on it and I set it aside. And I wasn't going to ride it or anything, especially if I sell this. But really, it takes hundreds of miles for it to conform to your body, so I could use it a little bit and it'd still be fine for the new user. But I'm not going to hop on it without treating the leather and potentially damage it. It's still in like mint condition. So, until the leather is treated, then I'm just going to use like the cheap saddle. I'm hardly using it at all. So basically I rode it one day, and I've just been doing like Uber Eats, like DoorDash. So, I don't know, guys. It's a really nice bike. It's classy. It looks great. It's comfortable. It's easy to see. It's a step-through bike. Men can ride these as well. This size, though, it's a 17.5 inch, which is best if you're like under 5'5". It's best for that. Now, larger people can ride it as well, but it's perfect for women. And this is the smallest size they make as well. It's the larger sizes would be for a large man as well. But see, it's a nice bike. It looks great. It's a Pashley Princess Classic in black. It does not have a basket. When I purchased it, the store did not have any baskets. It has the standard reflectors on it, not the light up. I actually think it looks better. It's a little too weird with the upgraded reflectors. But it's just in great shape. It doesn't have rust. It doesn't have scratches or dents. I mean, they assembled it, and they said we don't have a basket. I said I don't want a basket because the basket looked kind of dumb, actually. So it like looks like it's royal. It looks regal, like for a princess, but actually it's got like that Rolls Royce kind of look. Like it could be masculine or feminine look to it. It's got like that old Soviet look to it, but actually the design, it's just really ergonomic. And it's got the mud guards on it, on the front and the back. Let's see, what else does it have? Mud guards, comfortable handlebars can be adjusted. It has the Brooks saddle. That is like a $250 saddle, and it's the B67 short version, which is perfect shape and size for females. Now, it's possible if you're a very large female, then possibly not, but this is standard size, and the B17 actually is not the best shape for women. Men also can use the B67. It's like wider, so it's more comfortable, and it's a little shorter. So some people actually prefer this seat, regardless of gender. I don't think I would like the long one as much, having sat on a few long seats. But anyways, this is just a great bike, and I do like it. And if the Narcissist didn't buy it for me, I would be keeping it. But now I'm thinking of the Narcissist. So, should I keep my Pashley? It's still like mint condition, and I rode it one day, and I rode it to the shop and back, and I rode it like probably 5 miles that day, and that's all I've ridden it. And it works great. There's nothing wrong with it. The tires were just flat. There's nothing wrong with it cosmetically. There's no damages. Maybe there's like some minor imperfection because it's handmade, but there's not damages from use or anything like that. So, should I keep the Pashley that reminds me of the Narcissist that the Narcissist bought for me, or should I sell that and buy something else? I was kind of thinking of like a fat bike, or like a Surly, or maybe like a vintage Raleigh or something that looks kind of like the Pashley, but it's not. It's a different bike. Maybe a different color. I do like black bikes though. So if it was a black bike that just looked like more of a mountain bike or sportier, then I wouldn't be thinking of the Narcissist. So I don't know. What do you guys think? And if I do get another bike, if you have any suggestions. Now, I do like mud guards, but I don't absolutely need them. I mean, the way my dogs are, they cover me in mud anyway, so what's the point? Yeah, I don't know, guys. But I don't want something that's too bulky and like the bars and things are real thick. I'd like it to, I don't know. I like the more narrow tubing and stuff, so something that's more standard and basic. It's not too weird. But, fat bikes are kind of weird. So if it was like a standard frame with just big fat tires, and that's not to be cool, actually. Like, they do look cute, but I think it would be fun to ride on big tires, kind of floating. I think that might be a fun ride. But I don't know. I heard they're a little harder to accelerate. So I don't know. Give me some advice. Probably no one will comment, and I won't hear a single thing. But I need some advice whether I should keep my Pashley or sell it, and pick out something for myself and buy something for myself. Because that's the thing. This is an amazing bike. It's a great bike, but the Narcissist bought it for me, and the Narcissist used this as a weapon for 15 years. And now I know that when I look at this bike, and I think about that when I look at this bike. And so if somebody would be willing to pay me $1,000 for pretty much a mint condition Pashley that's only been driven 2 days, honestly, to buy this new, you probably couldn't walk out of the store for less than $1,600. So $1,000 would be great, and that would actually allow me to probably buy another bike. So I don't know, guys. I do live in Ohio. I can post a video. It doesn't have like the basket and that type of. It doesn't have a rack on it. You can mount anything on it, but that's simply because it was a new store that had just opened up. There weren't many Pashley dealerships in the United States. And they simply did not have all of the parts available. They said, we don't have a basket, but we have the bike. So they weren't able to put the basket on, and I actually didn't care because I didn't like the basket. If you guys look up on the internet, the basket's quite large, and it's like a wicker basket. I think it looks silly. And then the bike itself is actually a really nice looking bike. Okay, thanks for watching. God bless you guys.